My wife faked a girls' trip to Brighton Airport and flew to California for a sperm donor after learning I was infertile, so I cut them off. That was 4 years ago. She's still leaving her daughter's stuffed animals on my doorstep while I'm 3,000 miles away in London. I was once happily married to my wife for more than 4 years, 4 whole years, and she threw it all away regardless. Our relationship never had any issues, but right after we got married, we found out that I can't have kids. My S count was extremely low. That was a very big shock, because we had both agreed that we wanted at least 2 kids of our own. It even had me go into depression, from which I luckily recovered thanks to therapy. Over the 4 years, I tried to get her to agree to other options, one of which was adopting, but she denied everything, insisting that she was fine even without kids. That was surprising and unbelievable, because before marriage, she would always tell me how much she wanted kids. She would literally sit for hours and look at stuff she wanted to buy for her future child. But after that day at the doctor's appointment, she became completely numb to anything baby-related. She would often make offhanded comments about me, insulting my weight and lack of fitness, but when I confronted her, she would deny everything and claim that everything was normal. Her change bothered me at the start because I thought she was forcing herself to accept reality, but as time went on, I forgot about it and moved on. Then came the big moment, her planned trip. We lived in Brighton, which is in Europe, and she wanted to go to America for a trip with her friends. This wasn't the first girls' trip she had gone on, so I was very supportive of her. I even helped her pack and bought her new clothes to wear on the trip. Little did I know, she had a crazy plan cooking inside her head. After dropping her at the airport, I went home and stayed up so I could call her and make sure she was safe when she landed. After 9 hours of drinking coffee to stay awake, I checked that her flight had landed and called her to make sure. The ringtone rang, but she didn't pick up. I tried a few more times and even texted her about it, but still, there was no reply. Thinking she was tired and had gone to sleep at the hotel, I also tucked myself into the bed. But since I was still extremely worried about her well-being, I kept waking up and checking my phone for updates. In the morning, I noticed that she still hadn't called back or replied to my texts. After trying for a few more minutes, I called her sister to ask if she had talked to my wife. She hadn't, so I decided to call my wife's friends, who were supposed to be on the trip with her. That might sound very invasive, but I genuinely thought it was an emergency. For the longest time, I have had a fear of my plane crashing into the water, and I didn't want my wife to go through that horrible fate. But when I called her friends, guess where they were at? They were 2 blocks away, having morning tea at a cafe. I thought it was a silly prank, and I was being messed with. But no, my wife had truly disappeared and abandoned me. I was distraught and completely went off the rail. I got really hammered and showed up at her parents' house, claiming that they were hiding them. My mother-in-law was really kind and understanding of my situation, however. She let me in her home and comforted me for days. I can't remember how many times I cried on her shoulder. Eventually, I accepted reality and began working on moving on. It took me a long time. Even with the support of my family and friends, I still missed my wife a lot. I kept thinking that she hadn't abandoned me, and maybe she had suffered a terrible fate and was waiting for me to rescue her. I had to go to therapy for 2 long years before I stopped having nightmares about her being lost in a forest. But I didn't give up, and did in fact move on. I was going on golf trips with my friends again, going to pubs with them and getting absolutely smashed, joining the gym, and finally working on my fitness level. I even got a promotion at my company. I thought that my life, which had stopped in time, was finally moving again, and I was happy. But of course, my wife had to ruin that as well. A little less than 4 years after she disappeared, I saw my wife standing at my door with a baby in her arms. My legs turned to jelly. The coffee mug in my hand slipped and shattered on the doorstep, hot liquid splashing across my shoes. Elena stood there, holding a toddler on her hip, looking at me with those same green eyes that once promised forever. The child, maybe 3 years old, had dark curls and clutched a stuffed elephant. "Hello, Matthew," Elena said, shifting the child's weight. Her voice sounded exactly the same, like the past 4 years hadn't happened. I gripped the door frame to keep from falling. My mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. The child stared at me with curious brown eyes, sucking on her thumb. "Can we come in?" Elena asked, glancing over her shoulder at the street. "It's been a long journey." My hands shook as I stepped aside. She walked past me, that familiar vanilla perfume hitting me like a physical blow. I watched her settle onto my couch, the same couch where we used to watch movies together, where she'd told me she was fine without children. The child squirmed in her lap. "Mama, hungry," she said around her thumb. "In a minute, Rain," Elena said, smoothing the girl's hair. She looked up at me. "I know you must have questions." Questions? I had 1,000 questions fighting to escape, but all I managed was a strangled laugh. I sank into the armchair across from her, my legs refusing to hold me any longer. "Where?" The word came out as a croak. "California," she said, adjusting Rain on her lap. "I've been living in San Diego, California. While I'd been having nightmares about her lost in forests, while I'd been sobbing on her mother's shoulder, while I'd been in therapy trying to accept her death, she'd been in California." "Your mother," I said, the words thick in my throat. "She didn't know where you were. She held me while I cried." Elena's face tightened. I couldn't tell her. I couldn't tell anyone. Why? The question exploded out of me. Rain flinched at my raised voice, pressing closer to her mother. Elena stood up, carrying Rain to the window. She pointed at something outside, distracting the child. "I went to America for a reason, Matthew, not for a girls' trip. My stomach churned. Those friends at the cafe, 2 blocks away, sipping tea while I'd been calling hospitals and morgues. I went to a fertility clinic, she continued, her back still to me. I used a sperm donor. The room tilted. I gripped the armchair's arms, my knuckles white. You what? She turned around, Rain playing with her necklace. I wanted a baby, Matthew. I've always wanted a baby. You knew that. So you lied? You disappeared? You let me think you were dead? My voice cracked on the last word. I didn't mean for it to go that far, she said, sitting back down. I thought I'd be gone for a few weeks. Get pregnant, come back and we'd work it out. Work it out? I stood up, pacing to the kitchen and back. You planned to get pregnant by another man and thought we'd work it out? Not another man, she said quietly. A donor. It's different. It's not different. I slammed my hand on the wall. Rain started crying. Elena bounced her, making shushing sounds. Please, Matthew, you're scaring her. I forced myself to take deep breaths, the way my therapist had taught me. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Count to 10. Why didn't you just divorce me? I asked when I could speak calmly. Why the elaborate lie? She wouldn't meet my eyes. I was a coward. I loved you, but I couldn't live without children, and I couldn't face telling you that. So instead, you traumatized me? I laughed bitterly. Do you have any idea what you put me through? I showed up hammered at your parents' house. I accused them of hiding you. Your mother had to practically carry me inside. I'm sorry, she whispered. Sorry? I walked to the kitchen, needing distance. Through the doorway, I watched her comfort Rain. I had nightmares for 2 years, Elena. 2 years of therapy. I thought you were kidnapped, murdered, lost somewhere needing help. I didn't know it would be that bad, she said. You didn't know? I came back into the living room. You didn't know that disappearing without a word would be that bad? Rain had calmed down, playing with her elephant. Elena set her on the floor with some toys from her bag. When I got to California, I was already pregnant, she said. The procedure worked on the first try. I meant to come back then, but I was scared. Scared of your reaction. Scared of explaining. So I stayed. For 4 years, I said flatly. I got a job, found an apartment. Time just passed. And then Rain was born, and everything became about her. She watched her daughter stack blocks. But it's been hard, Matthew, being a single mom. I thought I could do it alone, but I can't. The implication hit me like a punch. You're here because you need help. She looked up at me, tears in her eyes. I'm here because Rain deserves to know her father. I'm not her father, I said coldly. You're my husband, she said. That makes me nothing, I interrupted. You made sure of that when you chose a donor over me. Rain toddled over to me, holding up her elephant. Look, she said proudly. I stared down at this innocent child who had no idea her entire existence was built on her mother's deception. She smiled up at me, gap-toothed and trusting. Rain, come here, baby, Elena called, but the girl ignored her, pressing the elephant against my leg. Play? She asked. I carefully stepped around her and walked to my bedroom. In the closet, behind old tax returns, I found the manila envelope I'd hidden there 2 years ago, the divorce papers I'd had drawn up but never filed, holding on to some stupid hope. I came back out to find Elena helping Rain with her blocks. She looked up as I approached. I had these prepared 2 years ago, I said, dropping the envelope on the coffee table. Sign them. Her face went white. Matthew, please, can't we talk about this? We're talking now, I said. You abandoned me. In the eyes of the law, that means you get nothing. No alimony, no claim to the house, nothing. I don't care about money, she said. I care about us, about our family. We don't have a family, I said. You destroyed that possibility when you decided I wasn't enough. Rain started fussing, picking up on the tension. Elena gathered her into her arms. Your mother still calls me, I said. Every Sunday. She bakes me casseroles. Did you know that? Your mother chose me over you. Elena's face crumpled. That's cruel. Cruel? I felt the rage building again. You want to talk about cruel? Cruel is making me think my wife died. Cruel is letting me spiral into alcoholism. Cruel is showing up 4 years later because single motherhood is harder than you thought. I made a mistake, she said, tears streaming down her face. I know that. But can't you forgive me? For Rain's sake? Rain has nothing to do with me, I said. She's your choice, your consequence. Don't put that on me. Elena stood up, holding Rain tightly. So that's it? 4 years of marriage and you can't even try? I thought about those 4 years. The depression after my diagnosis, her subtle cruelty, the comments about my weight, my inadequacy, the way she'd dismissed every alternative I'd suggested, the 9 hours I'd stayed awake, terrified for her safety. You had 4 years to try, I said. You chose California instead. She walked to the door, Rain whimpering in her arms. I'm staying at the Marriott downtown, room 412. If you change your mind, I won't, I said. She paused at the door. I really did love you, Matthew. No, I said quietly. You loved the idea of me, the me who could give you babies. When that turned out to be broken, you threw me away like defective merchandise. She left without another word. I stood at the window, watching her buckle Rain into a car seat in a rental car. The little girl waved at the house as they drove away, not understanding she was waving at a stranger. I picked up the divorce papers and set them on the kitchen counter. Tomorrow I'd call my lawyer, make sure everything was still valid. Tonight, I'd call Sarah, let her know her daughter was back. She deserved to know, even if Elena didn't deserve her. My phone buzzed, a text from my gym buddy asking if I was still on for tomorrow morning. I typed back a yes. Life would go on, just as it had for the past 2 years. Elena's return changed nothing, except now I knew the truth. She hadn't been kidnapped or murdered or lost. She'd been in California, living her dream while I'd been drowning in nightmares. She'd chosen a stranger's sperm over our marriage, a solo journey over our partnership. I made myself a fresh cup of coffee, stepping over the shattered remains of the first one. Tomorrow I'd clean it up. Tomorrow I'd file the papers. Tomorrow I'd continue continue the life I'd built from the ashes of her abandonment. But tonight, I sat in my empty house and finally let myself feel the anger I'd suppressed for 4 years. Not grief for a dead wife, but rage for a living coward who'd taken the easy way out and expected forgiveness when the bill came due. The rage kept me awake most of the night. I paced my living room, replaying every moment of Elena's visit, each word making my blood boil hotter. Around 3 a.m., I grabbed my phone and started typing a message to Sarah, then deleted it. Started again, deleted. She deserved to hear this in person. At 6 a.m., I drove to Sarah's house. She answered the door in her robe, took one look at my face, and pulled me inside without a word. She made tea while I sat at her kitchen table, the same table where I'd broken down crying 4 years ago. "She's back," I said when she set the cup in front of me. Sarah's hand trembled as she lowered herself into the chair across from me. "Elena?" I nodded. "With a 3-year-old daughter. She went to California for a sperm donor, Sarah. That's why she left. She planned the whole thing." Sarah's face crumpled. She covered her mouth with both hands, tears spilling over. I reached across the table and took her hands in mine. We sat there in silence, two people betrayed by someone we'd both loved. "I should have known," Sarah whispered. "The way she changed after your diagnosis. I should have seen it. None of us saw it," I said. "She fooled everyone." Sarah made breakfast while I told her everything. How Elena had shown up at my door, how she'd lived in San Diego, how she wanted me to accept her daughter. Sarah's jaw tightened with each detail. "The audacity," she said, slamming a plate of eggs in front of me. 4 years of letting us think she was dead, and she waltzes back expecting forgiveness? "She's at the Marriott," I said. "Room 412, in case you want to see her." Sarah shook her head firmly. "I have nothing to say to her. You're my family now, Matthew, not her." After breakfast, I went to the gym. Word had somehow already spread. Small-town gossip traveled fast. My workout partner, James, gave me a look as I approached the weight rack. "Heard your ex is back in town," he said. I grunted, loading plates onto the barbell. "News travels fast. My wife saw her at the grocery store with a kid. That true?" I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. James whistled low. "Man, that's messed up. You okay?" "I will be," I said, positioning myself under the bar. "Spot me?" The workout helped burn off some anger, but not enough. I showered and headed to work, trying to focus on spreadsheets and meetings. My boss, Catherine, called me into her office after lunch. "I heard about your situation," she said, closing the door. "If you need time off." "I'm fine," I said automatically. She studied me. "You sure? You've been one of our best employees since your promotion. I don't want to see you backslide." "I won't," I promised. "Work helps, keeps me focused." That evening, I stopped by the lawyer's office. Mr. Peterson reviewed the divorce papers I'd brought, nodding as he flipped through them. "These are still valid," he confirmed. "Abandonment is clear grounds. She'll get nothing from the marital assets." "Has she signed?" "Not yet," I said. "She only arrived yesterday." "The sooner the better," he advised, "before she tries to establish residency again or make any claims." I left his office and drove home, finding an envelope tucked under my windshield wiper. Elena's handwriting. I sat in my car, staring at it for a full minute before opening it. "Matthew, I know you're angry. You have every right to be. But please, for Rain's sake, can we talk? She keeps asking about the nice man with the broken cup. She doesn't understand why we had to leave. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm asking you to consider an innocent child. E." I crumpled the letter and tossed it in the back seat, using her daughter to manipulate me now. Classic Elena. The next few days blurred together. Elena left 2 more notes on my car. I threw them away unread. She showed up at my office, but security turned her away per my instructions. She tried the gym, but James and the other guys formed a wall, telling her to leave me alone. Then she escalated. I came home from work to find Rain's stuffed elephant on my doorstep with another note. This one I read, fury building with each word. "Rain left this for you. She thinks you're sad and wants to make you feel better. She's such a caring child, Matthew. She could be yours too if you'd let her. We could be a family, the family we always wanted." I picked up the elephant and drove straight to the Marriott. I knocked on room 412, the toy clutched in my fist. Elena opened the door, hope flickering in her eyes. "You got my note," she said. I held up the elephant. "Don't ever use your daughter to manipulate me again." "I wasn't." "Yes, you were." I pushed past her into the room. Rain sat on the bed, coloring. She looked up and smiled. "You found Ellie," she exclaimed, reaching for the elephant. I knelt down and handed it to her gently. "You dropped this at my house." "Mama said you were sad," Rain said, hugging the elephant. "Ellie makes me feel better when I'm sad." My heart clenched. This innocent child, caught in her mother's web of lies. I stood up and faced Elena. "She's beautiful," I said quietly, "and she deserves better than being used as a pawn." Elena's face flushed. "I'm not using her. I'm trying to show you what we could have." "What we could have?" I laughed bitterly. "We could have had this if you'd been honest. If you'd talked to me about options. If you'd given us a chance to figure it out together. You wouldn't consider a donor," she said. "You wanted adoption or nothing." "I wanted us to make a decision together," I corrected. "Like married people do. Instead, you made a unilateral choice and destroyed everything." Rain looked between us, sensing the tension. "Mama, why is the nice man upset?" "He's not upset, baby," Elena lied smoothly. "Why don't you watch cartoons?" She turned on the TV, and Rain immediately became absorbed. Elena motioned me toward the bathroom for privacy. "I've been thinking," she said once the door closed. "Maybe we could start over, date again, take it slow, Let Rain get to know you. Are you insane? I kept my voice low but firm. You abandoned me. You let me think you were dead. You can't just erase that. I'm not trying to erase it, she said. I'm trying to make amends. By ambushing me? By leaving manipulative notes? By using your daughter as bait? I shook my head. This isn't making amends, Elena. This is more manipulation. Then what do you want from me? She asked, tears starting to fall. I want you to sign the divorce papers, I said. I want you to leave me alone. I want you to stop pretending we can play happy family. But Rain has nothing to do with me, I repeated. She's your daughter, your choice, your responsibility. I left the bathroom and headed for the door. Rain looked up from her cartoons. Bye-bye, she said, waving. I waved back, my chest tight. None of this was her fault. The next morning, Sarah called me in tears. Elena had shown up at her house at midnight, Rain asleep in her arms, begging to stay. Sarah had turned her away. She said I was choosing you over my own daughter, Sarah sobbed. But she chose a stranger's sperm over her husband. How is that different? I drove over to comfort her. We sat on her porch, watching the sunrise. I keep thinking about those 2 years, Sarah said. You having nightmares, going to therapy, rebuilding your life. And she was just living in California like nothing happened. She said time just passed, I said. Like abandoning your husband is something that just happens. Sarah's phone rang. Elena's number. She declined the call. I can't, she said. Not yet. Maybe not ever. That afternoon, I got a call from my lawyer. Elena had hired her own attorney and was contesting the divorce terms. She wanted alimony, claiming she'd given up career opportunities to have Rain. My lawyer assured me she had no case, but it would drag things out. I hung up and punched the wall, leaving a dent in the drywall. 4 years of healing, undone in a week. James found me at the gym that evening, pounding the heavy bag until my knuckles bled through the wraps. Easy, mate, he said, grabbing my arms. The bag's not going anywhere. I slumped against the wall, chest heaving. She's contesting the divorce, wants money now. Of course she does, James said. Look, me and the boys were talking. If you need anything, money for lawyers, someone to talk to, whatever, we're here. The support helped, but the rage still simmered. I threw myself into work, staying late every night. Catherine noticed, but said nothing, just left coffee on my desk when she left for the day. A week passed. Elena kept trying different tactics. She sent flowers to my office. I threw them in the trash. She had Rain draw pictures for me. I returned them unopened. She even contacted my therapist, trying to schedule a joint session. Dr. Morgan called me immediately. I told her absolutely not, he assured me. But I'm concerned about you. This is a significant trigger. Would you like to schedule some sessions? I agreed, knowing I needed help processing the anger before it consumed me. During our first session, Doctor Morgan asked me to describe my feelings. Rage, I said immediately. Betrayal, but also vindication? For 4 years, I blamed myself. Maybe I'd done something wrong. Maybe I'd missed signs she was unhappy. But now I know it was all her. That's a normal response, he said. The revelation changes your entire narrative of what happened. She had this planned, I continued. The fake friends trip, the fertility clinic, everything. While I was buying her clothes for the trip, she was planning to abandon me. How does that make you feel about the grieving you did? I thought about it. Angry. I grieved for someone who wasn't dead. I had nightmares about her being in danger while she was building a new life. It feels like she stole those 2 years from me. She stole your agency, Dr. Morgan corrected. Your ability to make informed decisions about your life. That's a profound violation of trust. The sessions helped, but the anger remained, especially when Elena escalated again. She started showing up places she knew I'd be. The coffee shop I went to every morning, the park where I jogged, always with Rain, always watching me with those pleading eyes. One morning, she cornered me at the coffee shop. Please, just 5 minutes, she begged, while Rain played with sugar packets at the table. We have nothing to discuss except the divorce, I said, trying to move past her. I'll sign, she said quickly. I'll sign the papers, drop the alimony claim, everything. Just give me 5 minutes. I glanced at Rain, then at the growing line behind me. Fine, 5 minutes. We sat at a corner table. Rain offered me a sugar packet, which I politely declined. I know I hurt you, Elena began. I know what I did was unforgivable, but I need you to understand why. I know why, I said. You wanted a baby, and I couldn't give you one. It was more than that, she said. When we got the diagnosis, I felt like my whole future disappeared. Everything I dreamed about, planned for, gone, and you seemed so okay with it. I wasn't okay, I said sharply. I went into depression. I needed therapy, but I was trying to find solutions for us. Adoption isn't the same, she said. I wanted to feel a baby grow inside me. I wanted that connection. So you connected with a stranger's sperm instead of your husband's heart, I said. She flinched. When you put it like that, how else should I put it? I leaned forward. You made a unilateral decision about our marriage. You didn't give me a vote. You just decided I wasn't enough. You are enough, she said, reaching for my hand. I pulled away. That's why I came back. Rain needs a father, and you're the best man I know. Rain has a father, I said. Donor number whatever. That's who you chose. A donor isn't a father, she argued. You could be. Stop. I held up my hand. Stop trying to cast me in a role you denied me. You didn't want me to be a father to your child. You made that crystal clear when you flew to California. Rain knocked over her juice box, and Elena quickly cleaned it up. The mundane moment of parenting hit me hard. This could have been our life, if she'd chosen differently. My 5 minutes are up, I said, standing. Matthew, wait. Elena grabbed my arm. I'll sign the papers. Today. But please, don't shut Rain out. She's innocent in this. I looked down at the little girl, who was now stacking creamer containers into a tower. She is innocent, which is why she deserves better than a mother who uses her as a manipulation tool. I left them there and went to work, my coffee forgotten. That afternoon, true to her word, Elena signed the divorce papers. My lawyer called to confirm, surprised by the sudden capitulation. She signed everything, he said. No alimony, no claims to property, nothing. She even included a note. I don't want to read it, I said. It just says, I'm sorry, he informed me. That's all. The relief I expected didn't come. Instead, I felt empty. 4 years of marriage, reduced to paperwork and apologies. Sarah invited me for dinner that night. She'd made my favorite pot roast, the same meal she'd cooked when I was recovering from Elena's disappearance. She called me, Sarah said as we ate. Wanted to bring Rain to meet me. What did you say? I told her I needed time, Sarah said. Maybe someday I'll want to meet my granddaughter, but not now, not while the wound is fresh. I'm sorry, I said. You shouldn't have to choose. I'm not choosing, Sarah said firmly. Elena chose when she disappeared. She broke our family. Now she has to live with the consequences. After dinner, I helped wash dishes, comfortable in the routine we'd developed over the years. Sarah had become the mother I'd never had, filling a void I hadn't known existed. You know what the worst part is? I said, drying a plate. She's right about one thing. Rain does deserve a father, and in another life, I would have loved being that for her. Sarah hugged me then, tight and fierce. You would have been a wonderful father. Don't let Elena's choices make you doubt that. The divorce would be final in 30 days. Elena had stopped the ambushes, though I still saw her around town occasionally. Each time, Rain would wave, and I'd wave back, my heart breaking a little more. My therapy sessions focused on moving forward, not backward. Dr. Morgan helped me see that my anger, while justified, was keeping me tethered to Elena. She's living rent-free in your head, he observed. Every moment you spend angry is a moment you're not living your life. He was right, but letting go was harder than I'd expected. The betrayal had reopened wounds I thought had healed. 3 weeks after Elena signed the papers, I ran into them at the grocery store. Rain was having a meltdown in the cereal aisle, and Elena looked exhausted. For a moment, I considered walking away. Then Rain saw me. Nice man, she called out, tears stopping instantly. She toddled over and hugged my leg. Elena looked mortified. Rain, no, come back to Mama. But Rain clung tighter. Up, she demanded, raising her arms to me. I looked at Elena, who nodded resignedly. I picked Rain up, and she immediately calmed, playing with my collar. She's been asking about you, Elena said quietly. I don't know what to tell her. Tell her the truth, I said, bouncing Rain gently, in age-appropriate terms. What truth? Elena asked. That Mama made bad choices? That she hurt someone who loved her? That sometimes adults make mistakes, I said, and sometimes those mistakes can't be fixed. Rain patted my cheek. Sad? She asked. A little, I admitted. She leaned her head on my shoulder, offering comfort the way only children can. We stood there in the cereal aisle, a broken family that never was. We're leaving next week, Elena said suddenly. Back to California. My job held my position, and Rain's daycare has an opening. I felt relief and sadness in equal measure. That's probably for the best. I really am sorry, Matthew, she said. I know it doesn't mean anything now, but I need you to know. I made selfish, cowardly choices, and you deserved better. I handed Rain back to her. We both deserved better, but especially her. I nodded at Rain. Don't make the same mistakes with her. I left them in the cereal aisle and finished my shopping, my hands shaking slightly. That would probably be the last time I saw them. The final week passed quickly. Sarah and I had dinner together most nights, neither of us mentioning Elena's impending departure. My friends rallied around me, keeping me busy with activities and plans. The night before the divorce was final, I sat in my living room, looking at our wedding album. Elena had been beautiful that day, radiant with joy and promise. I'd believed we'd grow old together, maybe adopt children, build a life. I closed the album and put it in a box with other remnants of our marriage. Tomorrow, I'd be officially divorced. Tomorrow, Elena would be on a plane back to California. Tomorrow, I'd start the next chapter of my life. But tonight, I allowed myself to grieve. Not for the Elena who'd abandoned me, but for the Elena I'd thought I married. For the children we'd never raised together. For the future that died in a doctor's office 5 years ago. My phone buzzed. A text from James about weekend plans. Another from Catherine about a new project at work. Life moving forward, pulling me with it. I stood up and carried the box to the garage. The past belonged in storage, not in my living room. I had work in the morning, a gym session at lunch, dinner with Sarah in the evening. A life to live. The anger that had consumed me for weeks had finally started to fade, replaced by something like acceptance. Elena had made her choices. I'd made mine. Now, we'd both live with the consequences. As I got ready for bed, I thought about Rain. In a few years, she'd start asking about her father. Elena would have to decide what to tell her. The truth? A convenient lie? I hoped for Rain's sake, she'd learned something about honesty. But that wasn't my problem anymore. My problem was deciding whether to repaint the living room, whether to take that promotion Catherine had hinted at, whether to try dating again someday. Small problems. Normal problems. The problems of a man moving forward instead of looking back. The divorce papers would be processed in the morning. By then, Elena and Rain would be somewhere over Kansas, flying toward their life in California. And I'd be here, in Brighton, living mine. It wasn't the life I'd planned, but maybe that was okay. The life I'd planned had included someone willing to abandon me rather than face hard conversations. This life, the one I'd built from ruins, was entirely mine. Tomorrow would be the first day of the rest of my life. Tonight, I'd sleep peacefully for the first time in weeks, knowing the worst was behind me. The anger was finally gone, replaced by something that felt almost like freedom. I woke up to the sound of my doorbell ringing insistently. 7 a.m. on a Saturday. I stumbled to the door in my boxers, ready to give whoever it was a piece of my mind. Sarah stood there, her face pale and drawn. She pushed past me without a word, heading straight for my kitchen. I followed, confused and suddenly wide awake. She came back, Sarah said, filling my kettle with shaking hands. Last night, with rain. My stomach dropped. I thought they left for California. So did I. Sarah slammed the kettle onto the stove, but apparently Elena's job fell through, or she lied about having one. Who knows what's true anymore? I sank into a chair, processing this development. Elena was supposed to be gone. The divorce was final. I'd already started repainting the living room. Where is she staying? I asked. She showed up at my door at 2 a.m., rain crying, both of them soaked from the rain. Sarah's voice cracked. What was I supposed to do? Turn away a 3-year-old child? Of course not, I said quickly. You did the right thing. Sarah made tea with violent efficiency, banging cupboards and rattling spoons. I'd never seen her this agitated. She's in Rain's old room, Sarah continued. The one I kept exactly as she left it, like some pathetic shrine to a daughter who abandoned us. I reached across the table and took her hand. What can I do? Nothing, Sarah said. Everything. I don't know. I just needed to warn you. She'll probably try to contact you again. My phone rang before I could respond. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. That's probably her, Sarah said. She asked for your new number. I didn't give it to her, but you know Elena. She has her ways. The phone rang again. Same unknown number. I turned it to silent. I should go, Sarah said, standing abruptly. I left them sleeping, but Rain will be up soon. She needs breakfast. Sarah, wait. I caught her arm gently. You don't have to do this alone. I can come with you. Help with Rain while you deal with Elena. She shook her head. That's exactly what Elena wants. You, playing daddy to her daughter. Don't give her the satisfaction. After Sarah left, I sat in my kitchen, staring at my silent phone. 6 missed calls now, 3 voicemails. I didn't listen to them. Instead, I called James. Emergency gym session? On my way, he said without hesitation. We met at the gym 20 minutes later. James took one look at my face and steered me toward the heavy bags instead of the weights. She's back? He guessed. I nodded, wrapping my hands with perhaps more force than necessary. Staying with Sarah. That's rough, mate. James held the bag steady as I started punching. What's your plan? Don't have one, I admitted between strikes. Thought I was done with plans involving Elena. My phone, tucked in my gym bag, lit up with another call. James glanced at it. She's persistent, he observed. She's desperate, I corrected. There's a difference. After an hour of punishing the bag, I felt marginally more human. James suggested breakfast at our usual diner. I agreed, needing the normalcy. We were halfway through our eggs when Elena walked in, Rain on her hip. Unbelievable, James muttered. Elena's eyes locked onto mine across the crowded diner. Rain spotted me too, her face lighting up. Nice man, she called out, waving enthusiastically. Every head in the diner turned. I kept my eyes on my plate, but I could feel Elena approaching. Matthew, she said, stopping at our table. I've been trying to call you. I know, I said, still not looking up. We need to talk, she continued. About Rain, about us, about… No, James interrupted, standing up. You need to leave, now. Elena's face flushed. This doesn't concern you. It does when you're harassing my friend, James said calmly. He's made his position clear. Respect it. Rain started fussing, picking up on the tension. She reached for me, little hands grasping. Play? She asked hopefully. My chest tightened. This innocent child, caught in her mother's destructive patterns. I finally looked up, meeting Elena's desperate gaze. Your mother is expecting you, I said quietly. Don't keep her waiting. Elena's face crumpled. She turned and fled the diner, Rain crying in her arms. The entire restaurant watched them go, then turned to stare at us. Check, please, James called out. We left cash on the table and escaped to the parking lot. My hands were shaking as I unlocked my car. You okay? James asked. No, I said honestly, but I will be. I drove home to find Catherine sitting on my doorstep, still in her weekend clothes. Your phone's been going to voicemail, she said, standing as I approached. I wanted to check on you. How did you… Sarah called me, she admitted. She's worried. Said Elena's back and you might do something stupid. I unlocked my door, gesturing for her to come in. Define stupid. Getting pulled back into her drama, Catherine said, following me inside. Letting her use that child to manipulate you, taking responsibility for her choices. I made coffee while Catherine settled at my kitchen table. It struck me how many important conversations happened at kitchen tables. I'm not going to do any of those things, I said, handing her a mug. Good, Catherine said, because I have a proposition for you. I raised an eyebrow, waiting. The company's opening a new branch in London, she continued. I need someone to head it up, someone I trust, someone who could use a fresh start. London, a different country, away from Elena, from Rain, from the constant reminders of what might have been. When? I asked. 3 months, Catherine said. Enough time to wrap things up here, find a replacement, say your goodbyes. What about Sarah? I asked. I can't just abandon her. You wouldn't be abandoning anyone, Catherine said firmly. You'd be living your life. There's a difference. My phone rang again. This time it was Sarah's number. I answered immediately. She's gone. Sarah said without preamble. Took Rain and left. No note, no explanation. Just gone. When? I asked, my heart racing. Sometime while I was in the shower. I came out and the house was empty. Sarah sounded eerily calm. I think this is it, Matthew. I think she's really gone this time. I wasn't so sure. Elena had a pattern of disappearing and reappearing when it suited her, but I kept that thought to myself. I'm coming over, I said. No, Sarah said firmly. I need some time alone, to process, to decide what I want to do if she comes back. If? I asked. When? Sarah corrected herself. We both know she'll be back. She always comes back when things get hard. After I hung up, Catherine studied me carefully. The offer stands, she said. London could be good for you. She left shortly after, giving me a supportive squeeze on the shoulder. I spent the rest of the day painting my living room, trying not to think about Elena or Rain or the job offer. That evening, Dr. Morgan called. I heard you might need an emergency session, he said. Sarah, I guessed. She's worried about you, he confirmed. Are you free tomorrow? I agreed to a Sunday session, knowing I needed professional help to process this latest development. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every car that passed made me tense, waiting for Elena to appear at my door again. She didn't. The next morning, I arrived at Dr. Morgan's office to find him already waiting with coffee. Tell me what happened, he said simply. I recounted the past 48 hours, from Sarah's early morning visit to Elena's disappearance. Dr. Morgan listened without interrupting. How do you feel about the London opportunity? He asked when I finished. Guilty, I admitted, like I'm running away. Or moving forward, he suggested. There's a difference between running from something and running to something. What about Sarah? I asked. She's been my rock. I can't just leave her. Have you asked Sarah what she wants for you? Dr. Morgan asked. Or are you assuming? I hadn't asked. I'd been too focused on my own guilt to consider that Sarah might want me to take the opportunity. Elena will use this against me, I said. Say I abandoned Rain, just like she abandoned me. Elena's opinions stopped mattering when she chose deception over communication, Dr. Morgan said firmly. This is about your life, your choices, your future. The session helped clarify my thoughts, but I still felt conflicted. I drove to Sarah's house afterward, needing to talk to her. She answered the door looking exhausted but composed. I was wondering when you'd show up, she said, letting me in. Any word? I asked. Nothing, Sarah said. I've called her phone a dozen times. It goes straight to voicemail. We sat in her living room, the same room where I'd sobbed 4 years ago. So much had changed since then. Catherine offered me a job in London, I said quietly. Sarah's face lit up. That's wonderful. When do you start? Her enthusiasm caught me off guard. You want me to go? Of course I do, Sarah said. Matthew, you've rebuilt your life once. Don't let Elena derail it again. But what about you? I asked. What about us? Sarah took my hands in hers. We'll always be family. Distance doesn't change that. And honestly, it might be easier for both of us if you're not here when she inevitably returns. You think she'll come back? I know she will, Sarah said. When money runs out, when Rain gets sick, when she needs something, she'll be back. And it'll be easier to say no if you're not here for her to target. We talked for hours, planning potential visits, discussing video call schedules, working through the logistics of maintaining our relationship across an ocean. By the time I left, the decision felt clearer. That night, Elena called from a blocked number. I recognized her breathing before she even spoke. I know you hate me, she said without preamble, but Rain keeps asking for you. She won't stop crying. Where are you? I asked, against my better judgment. Does it matter? Elena's voice was bitter. You've made it clear we're not welcome in your life. You made that choice, I reminded her, 4 years ago. I'm trying to fix it, she said. Why won't you let me try? Because some things can't be fixed, I said. Some choices can't be undone. Rain's crying echoed in the background. My heart clenched at the sound. She needs stability, Elena, I said. Not me, not drama, stability. Can you give her that? I'm trying, Elena said, her voice breaking. Then stop dragging her around, I said. Stop using her as a bargaining chip. Stop making her pay for your choices. I never meant— I know, I interrupted. You never mean to hurt anyone, but you do. Over and over. I hung up before she could respond. Then I called Catherine. I'll take the job, I said when she answered. Excellent, she said. I'll start the paperwork tomorrow. The next 3 months passed in a blur of preparations. I trained my replacement, sold my furniture, found a flat in London. Sarah helped me pack, insisting on organizing everything with military precision. Elena surfaced twice during those months. Once, she left Rain's drawings under my windshield. Another time, she sent a long letter through Sarah, who handed it to me unopened. Your choice whether to read it, Sarah said. I burned it without opening it. Some words didn't deserve to be read. James organized a going-away party at our favorite pub. Half the town showed up, people I'd known for years, who'd supported me through the worst period of my life. Catherine gave a speech about new beginnings. Sarah cried. Even Dr. Morgan stopped by to wish me well. You've come a long way, he said, shaking my hand. I'm proud of you. The morning of my flight, Sarah drove me to the airport. We sat in the parking lot, neither wanting to say goodbye. She came by yesterday, Sarah said quietly. With Rain, my chest tightened. And I told her you were gone, Sarah said, that you'd moved on, started fresh, like she did 4 years ago. How did she take it? Badly, Sarah admitted. But Rain just asked if the nice man was happy now. I told her yes. We hugged goodbye at security, both of us crying. I promised to call when I landed, to visit for Christmas, to maintain our bond despite the distance. The flight to London felt symbolic. Crossing an ocean, just as Elena had. But I wasn't running from anything. I was running to something. A new life, built on truth instead of deception. I thought about Rain as the plane lifted off, that innocent child caught in her mother's chaos. I hoped Elena would find stability for Rain's sake, but that wasn't my responsibility anymore. My phone buzzed with a text from Catherine. Car will be waiting at Heathrow. Welcome to your new life. Below, Brighton disappeared beneath the clouds. Somewhere down there, Elena was probably planning her next move, her next manipulation. But I was beyond her reach now, flying toward a future she couldn't touch. The anger was gone. The guilt was fading. All that remained was possibility. London awaited. A new job, a new flat, a new chapter. I'd rebuilt once from Elena's ashes. This time, I was building from my own foundation. The plane banked east, toward the sunrise. I closed my eyes and let myself feel something I hadn't experienced in years. Peace.